Examining hot-button topics can unite a community or divide it irreparably. In today's edition, we'll go behind the scenes to investigate 3 issues of social controversy coming to a head right here in Southern California. Recreational abuse of medical marijuana threatening a viable treatment for dying patients. A hip-hop artist whose music may be able to bridge the generation gap of the Cambodian American community. Struggling students, forced to hide in the open, living in libraries and shelters rather than frat houses and dormitories. I'm Stephen Ryder, and this is a brand new edition of UCLA Next.
I'm the director of the Association of Patient Advocates, and I had polio when I was 9 months old, and I developed epilepsy when I was 18, and I used cannabis for chronic pain, for arthritis, for the scoliosis in my back, the pain from that. I have side effects from the Dilantin, the medications that I take for epilepsy. It helps to control my seizures. I actually can't take muscle relaxers or painkillers because they can trigger seizures, and so I'm limited to the medications that I can take. And at a young age, I found that cannabis helps.
Patients with written doctor recommendations can obtain medical marijuana from one of more than 100 dispensaries in California.
Welcome to Alternative Herbal Health Services, West Hollywood. We got Trainwreck, Banana, Champagne, Cat Piss, Power Plant, Dankover.
At this and other cannabis clubs, the employees must also claim to be legitimate patients.
And me, I got kidney dialysis, so I use medical marijuana to ease my nausea after dialysis. We also got peanut butter, jelly, and a whole other lineup of candy bars like Stoners and Baby Jane. Everything you really got in the real world, we got here at the candy shop. No.
Opponents say that this method of delivery can only encourage recreational use, calling into question the legitimacy of the entire system.
9 years ago, we passed this law, and in the law it recommended that the government set up a safe and affordable distribution system. Not only did they not set up a safe and affordable distribution system, but they have done everything to stop it from happening.
Medical marijuana dispensaries are not covered by either Prop 215 or SB 420. In fact, there is no law that says that marijuana can be sold over the counter. So dispensaries, in the true sense of it, are not legal. However, they are being tolerated. As a matter of fact, we have about 100 to 150 dispensaries throughout California, most of which have been left alone by the authorities, recognizing the important function that they perform.
The reason I like cannabis, why it makes sense to me, is because it's a very non-toxic drug. This is a substance that does not have adverse effects on your kidneys or on your liver. It's very well tolerated. There's no such thing as an overdose. It really doesn't produce any problems with dependence or an addiction.
And it doesn't damage me. I can function, I can speak. You know, I'm under the influence right now, and I can work, and I can think, and I can talk.
I see patients occasionally who want to use cannabis recreationally and want to use this process to legitimize that behavior. And my experience is that these folks are actually very rare.
I use medical marijuana because I suffer from insomnia, stress related to insomnia, and I have a history of high blood pressure in my family. What I really use medical marijuana for is that I like to get high.
I use medical marijuana for primarily anxiety. I actually use it as a cure for hangovers. I use it for social reasons and also just to watch cartoons.
Sometimes I do think that my actions might be jeopardizing the system. It removes some of the legitimacy, but most people generally don't care.
As a single consumer using it, I don't think my actions make a difference.
I think there's abuse with anything. People abuse alcohol, people abuse tobacco, people abuse everything, and the thing about it is, for the amount of people that this really helps, I think the abuse is a little bit more tolerated. But then again, I mean, it's just like a liquor store, you know, how many liquor stores have kids hanging outside of them trying to buy alcohol? It's kind of the same type of a scenario.
Patients generally have many different symptoms, and sometimes people don't even realize that they're using it for medical purposes.
Do I believe that people that are not medical patients are buying and using the dispensaries to obtain marijuana for their social use or their euphoric use or their religious use or their spiritual use? It's possible, but so what?
I would definitely still smoke if I did not have access to these dispensaries. It's just a nice thing having a card. I can get it other ways.
And if we keep people off the black market and are supporting the cannabis dispensaries and spending their money there, that is not hurting our community, that's helping our community.
It just takes a lot of the stress off, because a lot of, having to go out and deal with criminals or having to go out in the street, where am I going to get it, how am I going to afford it? There's somebody who's already, already has depression or is already stressed out or anxiety or disabled. It can be impossible.
Cannabis is a very ancient medicine. It's probably been used by humans for more than 10,000 years. I think that, again, the science of this, I think, is very straightforward. The politics of this is very complicated.
Well, I don't care. The federal government wants to come and arrest me for my 2 little plants. They can do that. This medicine works for me. I'm not going to let them take it away. If they want to make me a criminal, they can. But I'm not going to stop. I know it works for me, and I'm not going to stop it. I found my medicine.
The people of Cambodia have long possessed a rich cultural heritage, but in the 1970s, much of it was left behind on the killing fields of Pol Pot's infamous genocide. Many fled their homeland, ending up in Long Beach, California, which today boasts the largest Cambodian population outside of Phnom Penh. As the younger generation becomes immersed in American culture, elders of the community struggle to keep the memory of their past alive. Enter Pratch Lee.
I wanted to know the truth, how many fruits on the tree. Cause even though I branched out, I still couldn't leave. So I interrogate the past, I wanted to understand. Ask those who witnessed the horror and experienced it firsthand. And damn, it's a burden. I
watched a lot of Sesame Streets, and I read a lot of Dr. Seuss books. So the rhyme came in that form of the book of Dr. Seuss books and Sesame Streets. I went about and I was into poetry, and then I got into the hip hop scene. NWA was formed, and Snoop Dogg and stuff was coming out, and they were they were closer in Compton and Long Beach. And that's why I adapted to it, and I thought it was a hip way of doing it. I started rapping a lot of bullshit raps of what I saw, the gang stuff, I'm better than you, a lot of brag stuff. Like I said, you need to do something that's yourself. All this other stuff is not you. You might want to be it, but it's not you. I threw away all my I don't want to say garbage, one of my classics. I threw away my classics and started on new classics,
Pratch, a survivor of Cambodia's genocide, started rapping about the killing fields.
The story is this, that in April 1975, a peasant movement known as the Khmer Rouge, led by an intellectual known as Pol Pot, seized power. Something like 2 million people died. That's 2 million out of a population of around 8 million. In addition to killing people, the Khmer Rouge sought to put an end to an extremely rich and ancient culture. Probably not a family untouched, either by death or disease or terrible tragedy.
I lost my brother, my sister, my parents, all died. Only me.
They want the people dig their own grave. Some people still alive, and they come back and they start kill again. That Pol Pot is barbarous act to their own people.
A baby at the time, Pratch and his family traveled 30 days to escape the Khmer Rouge.
Basically, you have wood full of the Khmer Rouge and bombs and booby traps. We just wrapped up like a bowl of rice and some pots and pans to cook along the way, and I was wrapped in a blanket. And they carried on, and we carried on for a month, through exhaustion. It got to the point where my mom, her feet, skin literally peeled off like banana peels, and she couldn't walk, so my brother had to carry her. I've met a lot of kids that say, hey, you know what, the past is the past, let's move on forward. Okay, that's cool with me, we need to move forward, but you gotta know where you came from to know where you're going, you know what I mean? If not, you're gonna step on your own foot.
The war can't just affect you that much to make you, just not do anything. Stop trying to cry about, that things that happened 30 years ago. I mean, we just need to learn how to cope with it and just move on with the future and start progressing with the community.
We can say that it's good to move on, but if you do not try to hang on to your heritage, you will lose everything. Curriculum should be established, museum should be erected to make sure that the new generation will not forget.
But is rap music the best way to remember the killing fields? Not everyone agrees.
Many Cambodians, particularly of the older generation, feel that it's unnecessary and inappropriate to be expressing the story of Cambodia's past with this new kind of music.
I came across a lot of people that said, the killing field shouldn't be remembered by rap music or should be remembered by music or this and that. But hey, what should we remember it by? Hip-hop itself is not just music. I keep on saying that. It's not just music. Hip-hop is the culture. And hip-hop is the voice of the youth.
Rapping it's a way of communicating. As long as it depicts the true story, I think it's very appropriate. The way they talk about Troy for many years ago, or even Buddhism.
For Cambodian New Year, I asked one of the coordinators to perform on stage, and she looked at me straight in my eyes and she said no. She said, what kind of music are you going to do? I said, hip-hop or rap? And she said no. And I asked her why. She said, we have a bad rap before, So I waited there by the stage, and then all of a sudden it was like a call from Buddha or something like that. All the equipment went off. The only thing on was the microphone. So I'm like, here's my chance, man. If I don't take it, I might regret it. I took that chance, and I went on the microphone, and I did a couple Cambodian songs a cappella. After I done with the first song, it was silence. And I was like, oh man, they're gonna lynch me after this. The coordinator's gonna kill me, the people's gonna kill me. I'm gonna pack up and go home. But afterwards, they loved it. A lady stood up and she started clapping, and I saw her eyes was in tears. It so happens that one of the person there at the New Year was a DJ from Cambodia, and he took it with him to Cambodia. Started playing on radio. A lot of people called him, request for it, and he only had one CD. So, he did what he had to do. He made mass amount of it, bootlegged it, put it in CD World, sold it, and it became #1 in Cambodia. I got a call like 6 months later from Newsweek and Asia Week saying I have the #1 album in Cambodia. How do I feel about that? Like, how do I feel? I didn't even know how I got there, right? During election, the government censored it. They said that it's too controversial to play on radio, so they banned my stuff, which makes it more popular because people wanted to hear more. It was #1 there, and they had no idea who I was. Till this day, I never made $1 out of it, not even a penny. I'm not a teacher, I'm not trying to lecture anybody, but we got to remember what had happened so it won't happen again.
Well, I think Pratch Lee's music is a great influence on the younger generation. I've seen, young Cambodian Americans flock to him when they hear his music, compared to like our old traditional type of, dancing music.
The fact of the matter is that Prachli is able to reach an entirely new audience with this forum. I wouldn't say it's the best way to preserve Cambodian culture because it's not really Cambodian culture, but it's a heck of a good way to remind people of their history.
I see myself as a tree. Even though I branch out, I still can't leave. My root is still the killing field. You know, I can't escape that. If you dig me out, it's still attached to me. So of course it would be alive, and I would do it. If it takes my life to do so, then it takes my life.
Revolution is upon us, but don't you be scared of it, cause this is not just music, it's a movement, so move when you hear it.
For many college students, school means partying, meeting new people, and earning a degree on their journey into the real world. But there's a grim statistic beyond the usual facade of campus life. An unknown number of students are homeless, slipping through official cracks into a system ill-prepared to respond. Though some can be helped, they don't always connect to the right resources in time. Fortunately, some do feel obligated to speak out.
It's a choice of being homeless now while I'm younger or homeless when I'm old. So it was really more of a decision to go back to school now, no matter what the cost. I guess the thing I did was, when I came to UCLA, was I got a job in a research lab. So I put all my things in the car, and then the things that wouldn't fit in the car I put in storage, and then I had a lot of things in the lab. And I could put a lot of clothes and stuff behind the file cabinets, and I put a bedroll and stuff underneath my desk. And I slept in the lab at night. I've always said I could write a book on how to be homeless. Nobody would ever know, you know. You have your P.O. box, you have your cell phone, you know, you have your email, you have a little spa membership. None of that costs nearly what it costs to rent an apartment, and you can get by.
For the last year and a half, I've had to stay with friends, had to stay at hotels, and jump around dealing with, you know, not having an apartment, not having enough money, not having enough jobs. And I've had to be writing my screenplay and using internet cafes, friends' places, their laptops and computers. And I'll ask them to crash on their floor, to use their third bunk if it's vacated, in their room at the co-op. I mean, I've had to sleep at UCLA Medical Center sometimes in the waiting room. It changes every night.
You know, there's other students I know that have slept in their cars. There's students I know now that sleep in the library, you know.
Homeless students living in the library? How is it possible that no program exists to head this off at the pass?
I actually have met with probably 2 students that I either knew to be homeless or was suspecting that they were homeless based on things they were saying and indicating where they were spending their time. One of the situations that I had talked to the student about, that student was sleeping in the library. So I have referred students to financial aid. What I would do is probably say, well, if you don't have financial aid and you don't have a money source, then why don't we talk about what the financial aid emergency loan process?
We have so many different types of resources that can be made available to students. We offer full service through the financial aid office, which should negate a student having to encounter that type of experience. Private loans are at a slightly higher interest, but these loans help the student to meet that gap between what their family can provide, what they can receive in financial aid, and what the cost of attendance is. If a student cannot qualify for a private loan based on credit, they can get one of these opportunity loans, which recognizes the uniqueness of their circumstance.
No, if I wouldn't be homeless if somebody had told me specifically that this is what I could get, that I didn't have to have a cosigner, that it was for special circumstances, that I didn't, you know, because my credit is bad and I couldn't get cosigner, you know, all these things. I couldn't get financial aid, but I could get this loan without a cosigner despite my bad credit. Yeah, you know, but no, they did not tell me this.
I think it's more difficult for students to succeed, do well, whenever they're under any kind of economic distress. And all of the students, at least that I've seen, who live out of their cars or on campus, and I think anytime you get that situation, the amount of stress that they experience really interferes with a lot of areas.
It's almost impossible for me to be in a creative mood when I'm really in turmoil about where I'm going to sleep or where I'm staying.
I had dreamed that I jumped off a building and it felt good, because it was like going to be all over. And I went to student psychological services because obviously I need help, I was thinking about killing myself. I was thinking about ways I could do it. I was thinking about jumping off of a building. What would, be a way I would do it and not hurt anybody else and be sure I would die, I didn't want to be injured. I wanted to be sure I would die, So when you start thinking like that, there's something wrong.
I can't imagine how trying to deal with your basic needs, shelter, food, water, wouldn't impact your ability to focus and concentrate on your academics.
I work at a place here in Westwood Village. It's a part-time job. I'm looking for a second job. I'm struggling to get the screenplay out in Hollywood.
And no matter how good I was, people would say, well, we can't give you a raise because you don't have a degree. I mean, I could have had a degree in basket weaving or dog catching. It wouldn't make a difference as long as I had a degree. It's that important for the type of job you get and the type of compensation you get.
Well, whether or not there's a policy or not, I don't know, but certainly I think the problem exists, and I think there should be some department somewhere that could, in fact, kind of intervene on behalf of the students who are in that kind of predicament.
My mom's not here to see me graduate, that's really hard, So, no, my mom or my dad are not here to see me. Can we stop for this?
Though Victoria's struggle is about to end, it's an ending that's bittersweet. Yet for other struggling students, we can only hope that the system will recognize their circumstances and facilitate the efforts to gain a college education.
Everyone's here, everybody's who stand beside an angel like you. I saw your face ascending out of the palm of the leaves and into the realm. Not somewhere out in space I had suspended until I'm